Welcome to another SRWE real-world example where we'll be diving into a specific digital case study, demonstrating how existing Microsoft tools and solutions can be used without any premium features to reduce the value of overpayments within the NHS.
At a high level, and it's important to note that these numbers are not published, but are based on our calculations from individual trust-reported figures, we see the following. 1. Up to £58 million is paid annually to leavers across the NHS. 2. Of this value, between 36 and 45 million is recovered, leaving an annual value of between 15 and 24 million that needs to be recovered by using legal processes, debt recovery agencies and bailiffs. 3. Largely, the cause of this issue can be the lack of closed-loop or end-to-end followed processes. NHS colleagues are left to navigate often very complex, non-integrated systems which leads to leavers going unnoticed by payroll. 4. There are often knock-on impacts of process not being followed through to completion. In the case of leavers, there could be risks posed by user accounts remaining active, leaving organizations exposed to information security breaches.
So what can be done about this issue? How can we reduce the occurrences of overpayments? Well, initially, let's explore a very low-tech but digitally tracked automation-supported process flow. Considering the daily challenges and priorities for colleagues across the NHS, how can we reduce the cognitive burden of administrative activities? We need to automate any steps that do not require a human. We need to manage a list of actions for the processing manager. We need to keep humans in the loop. And we need some way of tracking overall activity to ensure that we can record any benefits, but also learn from or pick up the process when things don't go quite right. To follow on with our example, we need a way to trigger the automation and tracking of leavers. In this case, we'll simply send an email to the pre-designated mailbox for leavers. In our example, this is leavers@myorganization.com. We'll include the leaver name in the subject and the date that they will be leaving the organization within the body of the email. We'll simply click send, and that's it, which will trigger the initiation of a leaver and track the manager or requester steps required through the remainder of the process. On launch of the action list, predefined actions are carried out by the automation to ensure that downstream processes, automation, and activities are completed by the relevant teams. In this example, the automation will send an email to the payroll team, including a summary of the leaver information, the requesting manager, and the leave date. It will send an email to the digital service desk to request that the leaver's user account is disabled on their leave date. It will notify the requesting manager and the leaver, and it will mark and update the leaver tracking record to log sending those notifications, and automation will also update the leaver record status accordingly. The leaver record looks like this within our simple SharePoint list. This is a protected list that only reveals a manager's own leaver request records. In all communications with the requesting manager, the summary checklist is shared with a link to the leaver record. When the record is selected, the requesting manager can see and interact with each of the statuses within the determined leaver process. Where automation steps have been actioned by the system, the action card includes the detail relating to that automation. Generally that it was automated and at what time on what date. It is possible for the requesting manager to manually mark items as complete, but in most cases, there is scheduled or direct link to live or scheduled query data, which will mark incomplete items as so. Ultimately, the status of the leaver tracking and the status of the next payroll run are shown to the requesting manager on all interactions with the record. Each leaver action list record feeds into organizational data reporting and dashboards. Either by function, by directorate, or as a whole organization, leaver data can be monitored to identify trends, to highlight leaver hotspots, and to help identify where additional support or training may be required to reduce or limit overpayments. Our simple demonstration highlights how processes can be simplified and automated to support teams and colleagues navigating the ever-growing complexity of systems, apps, and tools. We've shown how simply you can create closed-loop processes that can limit exposure to increased costs, reductions in performance and efficiency, or worse. It is completely possible to trigger automation using many methods beyond the email example that we shared. For example, a simple leaver request form, or by using a Microsoft Power App, in fact, Processes could even be instigated by the leaver as part of a closed-loop resignation or retirement process. Action lists and automations can easily be set by team, directorate, or function. And further configuration to support automation within payroll or digital teams is easily achievable and manageable within the Microsoft stack. All of the core applications and tools and elements shown here are non-premium, meaning that this can all be achieved within your existing licensed Microsoft 365 product set without incurring additional costs.
If you'd like to find out more, or you would welcome a conversation about utilizing more of your existing solutions and tools to achieve greater levels of efficiency and productivity in your organization, we'd love to hear from you. And thanks for taking the time to watch our real-world example on NHS overpayments.